Joel, thank you for joining us, brother. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I don't know if I can live up to that introduction.
You can.
You got this. Dude, here's where I want to start because the franchise tags don't make any sense. And it almost seems like they've become more advantageous for ownership and management than they even used to be. And they were already an advantage. Can you help us understand the calculation of the franchise tags and how, if at all, that has changed from how they used to be calculated?
Yeah, the 2011 CBA changed how they deciphered them. It used to be very simple. You take the average of the top 5 salaries, which say by that they mean cap number, from the previous year at a position, and that would be the franchise tag. Now it's more convoluted because it's based on what's called a cap percentage average. And what that is you use that original methodology where you compute what the old franchise tags would have been before they changed it to this new way, and you add up what it would be for the previous 5 years. Then you take the sum of the salary cap for the previous 5 years, you divide those two into each other, and you multiply that resulting percentage by what the upcoming salary cap is going to be. And that's how you determine what the franchise tag numbers are going to be. So you can't take what the actual franchise tag numbers are over the past 5 years and plug them in because you'll get wrong numbers.
So that has it always been like that, or that's something new?
Just since the 2011 CBA. I haven't checked to see whether the players would be better off under the old system or the new system. That may actually become an article at some point when there's some downtime.
Based on the numbers, the old system was better for the players. The new system better for the owners.
Not necessarily, because if you look, because you restructure contracts all the time, and if you have a lot of restructures at a position, then those cap numbers are going to be low for that particular year. The thing is, if you have a huge jump in salaries and cap numbers, you don't get the immediate benefit because it's weighted down by the other 4 years.
That's interesting. It's just the one that stands out so much, and I follow you on Twitter, right? You can follow Joel at Corey Joel. For the quarterback franchise tag to be $40 million when you've got, hell, close to 10 quarterbacks making north of 50.
Yeah.
That one just stands out, I think.
Yeah, well, average salary and cap number are two different things. Because every year you have all these guys that have huge cap numbers. Like Deshaun Watson's cap number is like $73 million right now, but it's going to get chopped down. That's why they did that maneuver towards the end of the year to add dummy voiding years to anticipate they're going to restructure it. You right now have Patrick Mahomes at $66 million. I doubt he's carried at $66 million during the year. He's been right around 37, 38 the past 2 years. Dak Prescott is bordering $90 million. He won't have a $90 million cap number, I would say, maybe not by the start of the league year.
That's a good point.
Joe, I understand all those things, but you know what? This is just basically when you just like anybody in any business, just manipulating the money to make the money be how they want it to be. But the number still is the number. If you sign a 5-year, $300 million deal, and then later on you start doing some restructuring, it still was a 5-year, $300 million deal. You add some more money to come into it, which normally goes up. So I don't know how that's manipulated to be lower later on when everything is going up.
Yeah, well, the fact you can kick the can down the road like the Saints do with every cap number known to man each year, and the franchise tags have always been based on cap number. Because when they say salary, that's a misnomer because it's actually cap number when you look at how it's defined in the CBA, and it's been that way ever since the franchise tags were created in 1994. Now, if they made it off of the top 5 average salaries, it'd be a whole different story, and you would rarely see guys get franchised because then you'd have a quarterback number which would be well over $50 million per year.
Mm-hmm. That's what my first statement was. What I said.
Talking with Joel Corey here on the Rude Guest Hotline. Obviously, the cap is just such a complicated beast. But when you look at least on the surface level, going into this season, Washington's going to have a ton of cap space, right? Third most in the NFL. How do you view that, though, as far as the team also has almost 30 pending free agents and kind of what they can really spend outside of probably bringing back some portion of their own guys?
Yeah, they're going to have to make some choices on who to bring back and who not to bring back because he had a bunch of guys on one-year deals. I kind of look at this like the Texans last year, a team which did better than expected because nobody thought that the Commanders would be in the NFC Championship game. Nobody thought the Commanders would get to the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. I mean, the Texans. So they went out and made some judicious choices, getting Daniil Hunter, trading for Joe Mixon, trading for Stephon Diggs because they had the NFL Offensive Rookie on the Year on a cost-contained rookie contract, which you guys have. So you could take a big swing at someone if you wanted to, whether in free agency or through a trade. Two of the guys I would bring back that were on one-year deals are your culture setters on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Zach Ertz, who resurrected his career after battling through injuries, had a great closing statement, over 10 catches, 100 yards in the NFC Championship game, and the future first ballot Hall of Famer Bobby Wagner on defense.
Hard to argue with either of those. And frankly, I think both want to be back. And I think Ertz made it clear he wants to be back. The only thing I find interesting with Wagner is if, Pete Carroll comes calling in Vegas and that's a little closer back to Southern California. But what do those deals look like? They're probably another 1 year, I would guess. You're going to have to pay him more. Last year, you kind of got the roll the dice, let's see what you got deal. This year, it's, hey, I can play for you deal.
Yeah, Ertz was practically the lowest paid starting tight end on a veteran contract at $3 million last year as the base value. If you look at him statistically, he's not going to get this type of money, but it compares very favorably to Pat Freiermuth statistically. Hunter Henry, who is an older guy, Freiermuth signed for $12.1 million per year, but that was an extension of his rookie contract. Hunter Henry's at $9 million per year. I don't think you're going to go there. For Bobby Wagner, the guy, all he does is get accolades each year. Mm-hmm. He's 34. Some guys just defy odds. He's got 13 straight 100 tackle seasons, which is tied for the second most 100 tackle seasons with Ray Lewis. It's behind London Fletcher. Anytime you're mentioned with Ray Lewis, that's pretty good company. Sure. Last year, you had Levante David signed a one-year deal for $8.5 million, up to $10 million with incentives. You had Demario Davis signed for 2 years, average $8.625 million per year. Almost 14 was fully guaranteed at signing on the 2 years. Bobby's better than both of those guys, always has been. The cap has gone up 10%. At a minimum, to me, you adjust that deal for cap inflation and go from there. To me, I think he could ask for more, but to me, that should be his floor.
So about 10 mil for Bobby, and then does that sound like
that's the floor? I think he could justify more because all he does is get honors each year. And if you put any stock, and some people don't, into the Pro Football Focus grades in their rankings, if you're the 42nd best player in their top 101, then you got to throw some of the age stuff out the window of him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But that's one thing that they try to throw in all the time, the age thing. Because you always say, well, it just happens 1 year, you fall off the cliff.
Yeah, well, they've been saying that for him because he keeps doing all these one-year deals. I imagine they've been saying that wherever he goes. Because Seattle got rid of him and brought him back, and they got rid of him again. The Rams got rid of him after he was an all-pro Pro Bowler guy. So he ain't falling off the cliff, really. So I guess I shouldn't bring this up. but as R. Kelly once had as an album title, age ain't nothing but a number.
What is the so 10 million? 10 mil is the floor.
That was for Aaliyah. I probably should have brought that up, but I did anyway.
Yeah, I know. I got you.
10 mil is the floor for Bobby Wagner. What do you think the floor would be for Ertz?
I would say, looking at where Hunter Henry is at 9, maybe 7, 8 million on a one for him. That's probably pay the thing that's going on with the Commanders. John Bates is up. So you got 2 tight ends up. He's a blocking tight end. I would suspect Bates is going to be looking at, I'm everything Josh Oliver is. And 2 years ago, Josh Oliver got $7 million per year to be one of the highest paid blocking tight ends in the NFL. So you got to contend with that one as well.
Wow.
Yeah, man, they got a lot of decisions to make. It's going to be fascinating. Talking with Joel Corey here. You can read his work at CBS Sports. You can give him a follow at Corey Joel. Joel joins us via the Rude Guest Hotline. When we zoom out from what Washington is going to do, what do you think this free agency early tampering period is going to look like? Because, you know, a lot of what we thought were the big stars that maybe get on the street it looks like they're getting tagged. I mean, T. Higgins, Godwin, seems like teams are trying to figure out ways to keep their own guys in-house. Where do you see kind of the early spending spree going?
I don't think there'll be a lot of tags being used. Godwin, they moved the void date in his contract to the last day of the league year, so you can't tag him. And even if you hadn't, he's already been tagged twice. He had that number of $26 million this year. It would have been 144% of that, or the highest.
Doesn't it seem like they're trying to get a deal done with him, though?
Yeah, that's the reason why you move that. They did that with Byron Murphy in Minnesota. You don't move the void date to after, because you move the void date after the expiration of the tag period, the deadline, then you can't tag him. So if they were contemplating using a tag, they'd have left it as is because they were going to void before the franchise tag period even opened. Now, Higgins is interesting from the standpoint that the Bengals usually are one and done on franchise tags. You tag someone once, like with Jesse Bates, and then you don't do it again, and then he probably leaves. That's going to be $26.2 million. Kansas City's not going to tag Trey Smith. That's because interior offensive linemen typically don't get franchise tags. You guys did that with Brandon Scherf 2 years in a row, but outside of him and Joe Thuney in 2020, you hadn't had an interior offensive lineman get tagged since Logan Mankins like 2011. Zach Bond won't get tagged because off-ball linebackers aren't tagged because that number is basically made up of edge rushers, 3-4 outside linebackers, because they have a separate tag for defensive ends and a separate tag for linebackers, when there really should be an edge rusher tag and should be an off-ball linebacker tag. That number is going to be over $25 million.
Wow.
The highest paid off-ball linebacker is Roquan Smith at $20 million per year. So why are you going to put a $25 million tag on Zach Bond when it has no relation to the market?
He can be gone. The money might get high enough for him, but the Eagles won't be able to hold him.
Oh, that's an interesting thing about the Eagles. That team has made a conscious decision not to invest in off-ball linebackers. They let Kazir White go, TJ Edwards leaving free agency, Alex Singleton. Obviously, Bond had a much better season than those guys ever had, but they don't invest in that position. Now, if I'm Bond and I'm someone who's a first-team All-Pro, I'm the first guy ever to have 150 tackles, a minimum 150 tackles, and 5 forced fumbles. I made the transition from edge rusher to inside linebacker. It was a great transition. I'm first-team All-Pro. I'm in my late 20s. This is my one chance to get paid. I'm thinking, Tremaine Edmonds never did anything like I did. And 2 years ago, Tremaine Edmonds went to the Bears for $72 million over 4 years, averaging $18 million per year, $50 million in guarantees, $41.8 fully guaranteed at signing. I want more than that. That's what I'm looking at if I'm him. Now, some teams may be scared by that 1 year wonder. That's the one really interesting to me because Philly doesn't pay off ball linebackers. He's done everything you'd want to do in a contract year to warrant getting paid. So we'll see what gives.
That's going to be really interesting. So what do you think happens with Myles Garrett, dude?
I think Cleveland tries to do everything in their power to convince him that we're going to right the ship. Now, he made some comments during that last couple of episodes of that Hard Knocks show that they were closer to where some people thought to playing meaningful football. So I'm like, what changed between then and you going public with the trade? They did get to the playoffs in 2023, having musical chairs as quarterback and bringing Joe Flacco off the street. That Deshaun Watson thing is killing them.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not going to trade him anytime soon if I'm the Browns. I'm going to try to do everything I can to convince him to stay. It doesn't work cap-wise for them to trade him and get 2025 draft capital because he has a cap number of like 19.8. And if you trade him before June 2nd, there will ultimately end up being $41 million in dead money because they'd have to exercise an option by the third day of the league year, which is going to take the dead money from $36 million to $41 million. I try to throw as much money as possible at him to get him to stay. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Everybody has a price, and it'd probably take over $40 million probably to get him change, or $40 million per year to get him to change his mind unless he's going to stand on principle and really want out. It's very easy to talk about, I'll do whatever it takes to get out in January. Let's see if whatever it takes is the same thing in January as it is in July if he's still with the Cleveland Browns and there's no contract. No new contract.
Right. That's last one from me, Joel. I'm curious. You've got a bunch of veteran quarterbacks. I mean, Rodgers and Cousins, I think, are just going to be straight up free agents. There's this like lingering Matt Stafford might be traded conversation that I can't really get a read on if that's real or not. What do you see happening with those guys, Rodgers, Cousins, and even Stafford?
Rodgers, one, has to decide he wants to play. And two, it's got to be a situation which is worth his while. I wouldn't want to end my career the way this thing ended with the Jets. So if I had to go to the Titans for a year, even though they're not going to be very good, and resurrect it that way, and go on a higher note, I would. Raheem Morris said we could handle Cousins and would be comfortable with him is the backup. I'm not buying that one bit. That's going to be a Russell Wilson thing. They cut him for post-1 designation since he's got the salary guarantee of $27.5 million. He'll sign for his league minimum of $1.255 million to go somewhere, maybe Cleveland because of this Kevin Stefanski connection. I have zero sympathy for Matthew Stafford, which you'll probably find surprising. This guy had all the leverage in the world when he did his contract in 2022. They won the Super Bowl, everything they gave up to get him in that first year. He could have said, give me a blank contract, I'll fill it in and become the highest paid player in the league, which would have been like $50.5 million per year at that time. They had Aaron Rodgers. He handed the leverage back on a silver platter and signed for $40 million per year. So if you consciously take a hometown discount, in my opinion, and this is me saying this as a former agent, don't go back to the team and say, I want more money.
Mm-hmm. Put himself in that situation. So, hey.
It's going to be a fascinating. Do you think Washington will get a bunch of deals done prior to the league year opening? Is there any advantage outside of just, I guess, the planning aspect of it? Is there any contractual or cap advantage to getting deals done before the league year opens?
No cap advantage, but if I'm the Commanders, because of something you said earlier, I want to get Bobby Wagner done today, just because I don't want Pete Carroll to. Well, they got more cap room than you guys have. I don't want Pete Carroll thinking, I need my old guy, my culture setter, to come in. No state income tax in Nevada.
Wow.
He'll be closer to home. He's a Southern California guy. He's still got the Seattle ties. That's closer. I know he's getting his MBA at Howard, but still, I don't want to run that risk of then having the Pete Carroll be the competition. So I get him done today.
That's the guy. That's the one team that we were concerned about, RJ.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. I think Pete Carroll in Vegas is going to be I don't know that.
And he just stated no state tax.
Right. There's a lot of things, man. Hey, Joel, we appreciate your time, bro. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, man.